Once upon a time, in a lively town, there lived a girl named Beatrice. She was known for her intelligence and dedication to her studies. Beatrice excelled academically and was always at the top of her class. Her parents were poor, but they worked hard to provide for her education. They had high hopes that one day Beatrice would become a doctor or a lawyer, bringing pride to their family and lifting them out of poverty. Despite her success in school, Beatrice often felt lonely. She was so focused on her studies that she didn't have time for friends or fun. That all changed when a new boy named Daniel joined her class. He was charming, confident, and everyone loved him. Beatrice found herself drawn to him in a way she had never felt before. As weeks went by, Beatrice and Daniel became closer. They studied together, shared their dreams, and laughed over lunch. Beatrice felt a warmth in her heart that made her forget about her worries. One day, during a school event, they shared their first kiss. It felt magical, and Beatrice thought she had finally found happiness. But their romance quickly turned serious. One night, during a moment of weakness, they crossed a line. Beatrice felt excitement but also fear as she realized the gravity of what had happened. When she discovered she was pregnant, her world turned upside down. She was terrified and confused. What would her parents say? What would Daniel do? When Beatrice told her parents about the pregnancy, their faces turned pale. They were heartbroken. They had worked so hard to give her a good life, and now it felt like everything was falling apart. "How could you do this to us?" her mother cried. Beatrice felt the weight of her parents' disappointment crushing her. Feeling lost, Beatrice turned to Daniel for support. But when she told him the news, his reaction was not what she had hoped for. Daniel's face went pale, and he took a step back. "We can't have this baby," he said, his voice shaky. "My parents would never accept it. They want me to go to a good university and have a successful career. You can't ruin that for me." Beatrice was devastated. She had thought Daniel would be there for her, but instead he rejected her. He spoke of his wealthy parents' plans for his future and how he couldn't let her spoil everything. It hurt her deeply to hear him say those words, and in that moment she realized he didn't truly love her. Feeling abandoned, Beatrice decided to tell Daniel's parents about the pregnancy. She hoped they would understand and support her, but when she approached them, they were furious. "How dare you think you can trap our son with a child?" his mother yelled. "You're from a poor family, and we won't let you ruin his future." Beatrice felt small and ashamed. She had lost not only the love she thought she had with Daniel, but also the hope of having a supportive family around her. She returned home, feeling as if the world was closing in on her. Days turned into weeks, and Beatrice struggled with her emotions. She knew she had to make a choice about her future and the life growing inside her. Her parents, still disappointed, tried to guide her, but they were heartbroken and unsure of what to say. "We want you to have a better life," her father said gently, "but you have to make this decision for yourself." As she pondered her situation, Beatrice found herself in a deep conflict. The weight of her choices felt heavy on her heart. She wanted to do what was right for her baby, but she also wanted to fulfill her parents' dreams for her. One day she sat alone in her room, tears streaming down her face. She picked up her books, hoping to find some comfort in her studies, but the words blurred as she realized her life was changing forever. Beatrice knew she had to stand strong, not just for herself, but for her child as well. But soon something happened, and things changed. Beatrice felt like her world was crumbling down around her. Her parents, especially her mother, were relentless in their insults. "You've brought shame to our family," her mother shouted. "You think you can just throw your life away and expect us to be happy about it? You are nothing but a disappointment." Each word pierced Beatrice's heart like a sharp knife. The weight of her mistakes hung heavy on her shoulders, and the disappointment in her parents' eyes felt suffocating. One night, after yet another argument filled with hurtful words, Beatrice couldn't take it anymore. Tears streamed down her face as she packed her belongings, taking only what she could fit into a small bag. She made the decision to leave her home, her family, and everything she had ever known. She was determined to find a better life for herself and her unborn child. Beatrice's journey in the city was filled with uncertainty and fear. After leaving her home in desperation, she spent 2 long, cold days sleeping on the street. She had no money, no food, and no one to turn to. Her growing belly made it harder to find help as people gave her strange looks, some even scolding her for being in such a situation. On the third day, Beatrice sat by the roadside, her heart heavy with exhaustion. A man named Philip noticed her. He approached her, concerned by her frail appearance and obvious distress. "Are you all right?" he asked gently, crouching down to her level. Beatrice looked up at him with tear-filled eyes. She had been too proud to beg for help, but now she was desperate. She told him her story, how she had left her home because of the constant insults and how she had been wandering the streets with no place to go. Philip listened carefully, and as she spoke, his heart softened. He could see the pain in her eyes and the struggle she was facing. "You shouldn't be out here like this," Philip said after a long pause. "Come with me. I'll take you home. My wife and I will help you." Beatrice hesitated for a moment, but then nodded. She didn't have any other options. Philip seemed kind, and she prayed that his wife would be as understanding. When they arrived at Philip's house, his wife, Felicia, was standing by the door. She eyed Beatrice suspiciously, her gaze immediately shifting to her swollen belly. Without even greeting her, Felicia took Philip by the arm and pulled him inside. Beatrice could hear them arguing from where she stood. "Who is this girl?" Felicia demanded, her voice sharp. "Is this your side chick? You brought her here because she's pregnant with your child, didn't you?" Philip was surprised by her accusations. "What? No, Felicia, you've got it all wrong. I found her on the street. She's in trouble, and she needs our help." Felicia crossed her arms, glaring at him. "I don't believe you. Why would you bring a pregnant girl into our home if she wasn't yours?" "This looks bad, Philip. You're being too kind to strangers." Philip sighed, trying to stay calm. "I swear, Felicia, she's just a girl who needs help. We can't turn her away. She has nowhere else to go. Please, try to understand." Felicia looked at him for a long moment, her face softening slightly, though the suspicion in her eyes remained. "Fine," she said finally, "I'll let her stay. But I'll tell you right now, I don't like her, and I don't trust her. You can help her, but I won't." Philip, relieved that his wife hadn't completely rejected the idea, turned to Beatrice. "You can stay," he said, smiling kindly, "but there will be some rules. You'll have to help around the house." Felicia stepped forward, her arms still crossed, her eyes cold. "You'll be cleaning, cooking, doing laundry, everything. If you want to stay here, you'll earn your keep. Is that understood?" Beatrice's heart sank, but she nodded. She had no other choice. "I understand," she whispered. The next few weeks were difficult for Beatrice. Felicia barely spoke to her, and when she did, it was with a harsh tone. Beatrice spent her days scrubbing floors, washing clothes, and cooking meals. Her body ached from the long hours of work, especially with her pregnancy, but she knew she had to endure it. She didn't want to be out on the streets again. Philip, on the other hand, was kind and always checked in on her. He made sure she was eating enough and often asked how she was feeling. "You're doing well, Beatrice," he would say, offering her a warm smile. "Just hang in there. Things will get better." "Thank you so much, sir, for everything you have been doing for me. I really appreciate it," Beatrice said. "Don't mention, Beatrice. You are like family now," Philip replied. A month later, Beatrice began experiencing severe pains in her stomach. She had been pushing herself too hard, trying to keep up with Felicia's endless demands, and her body had reached its limit. One morning, while scrubbing the kitchen floor, she suddenly collapsed in pain. Philip rushed her to the hospital, where the doctors quickly realized she was in danger of losing her baby. After hours of treatment, the doctor emerged with a grim expression. "She had a miscarriage," he told Philip. "The pregnancy was already quite advanced, and it put a lot of strain on her body. She was lucky to survive. Had she come in any later, it could have been much worse." Beatrice was devastated. The loss of her child was like a piece of her heart being torn away. She had carried the baby for months, through all the hardships, and now, after everything, she had nothing to show for it. She felt an overwhelming sense of emptiness and grief. When Beatrice returned home from the hospital, weak and emotionally broken, she hoped for some rest and maybe a bit of sympathy from Felicia. But Felicia barely looked at her as she stepped into the house. That evening, as Beatrice lay in bed recovering, Felicia knocked on her door and stepped inside. Her face showed no sign of concern. "You can rest for today," Felicia said coldly, "but tomorrow you'll need to get back to your chores. I don't care what the doctor said. I need this house kept in order. You're not here to lounge around." Beatrice stared at her in disbelief. She was still aching from the miscarriage, still processing the loss of her child, and yet Felicia showed no compassion. She could feel tears welling up, but she blinked them back. She had no choice but to endure. There was nowhere else to go. The next day, despite her body being sore and her heart heavy with grief, Beatrice dragged herself out of bed and began cleaning the house again. Every sweep of the broom reminded her of the child she had lost, and every task felt like a punishment. That afternoon, Philip came home and saw Beatrice bent over, sweeping the floor. She looked pale and weak, still recovering from the miscarriage. He moved closer, telling her she needed to rest. But Beatrice was afraid to stop. She knew if she didn't finish, Felicia might get angry or throw her out. Philip, feeling frustrated, marched into the house. He saw Felicia sitting on the couch and raised his voice. He was upset that Beatrice was being made to work after just losing the baby. He said it wasn't fair and that Felicia should help. Felicia, to Philip's surprise, started crying. She revealed that the doctor told her not to do any housework because it could stop her from getting pregnant. She had been trying hard to have a baby, and Philip didn't know how much pressure she was under. Philip's anger softened as he listened. He suggested they hire help, knowing that neither Felicia nor Beatrice should keep working like this. But Felicia refused. She didn't want a maid, saying that Beatrice was doing her job well and should continue. Beatrice, overhearing bits of their talk, kept sweeping. She was exhausted, but stopping wasn't an option. Inside, she felt broken, her hope fading. But even though it hurt, she knew she had to keep going. One evening, Felicia went out with her friends to the club, leaving Philip and Beatrice at home. Philip, however, had other plans. While Beatrice was busy in the kitchen, Philip secretly added something to her food that would make her sleep deeply. Unaware of what had been done to her meal, Beatrice ate her food and soon felt drowsy. By the time she fell asleep, Philip took advantage of the situation. The next morning, Beatrice woke up in her room feeling strange. She didn't remember anything from the previous night, but something felt wrong. Still, she brushed the feeling off, not knowing what had really happened. Months later, Beatrice was shocked when she found out she was pregnant. Confused, she couldn't recall sleeping with anyone and wondered how it was possible. When Felicia found out, she was furious, ready to throw Beatrice out of the house. But Philip stopped her, suggesting that Beatrice keep the baby and give it to them since they were unable to have children. Felicia, desperate to have a child, reluctantly agreed. Even though Beatrice stayed, her life became even harder. Felicia's treatment of her grew worse, more chores, more harsh words, and more control. Yet Philip seemed kinder when Felicia wasn't around. He would bring her fast food, new clothes, and small gifts, trying to win her over. Beatrice felt uneasy about his attention, but had no power to refuse it. Soon Felicia started noticing Philip's special treatment of Beatrice. She warned him to stop, sensing something wasn't right. But Philip assured her that he was just being nice, reminding Felicia that Beatrice was carrying the baby they both wanted so badly. Despite his excuses, Felicia's suspicions lingered, creating tension in the house. One day, Philip could no longer carry the weight of the truth. Sitting Beatrice down, he finally confessed everything. He told her how he had put something in her food that night, how he had taken advantage of her while she slept. Beatrice's heart shattered. She burst into tears, feeling utterly betrayed. She had trusted them, thinking that despite everything, Philip had been helping her out of kindness. Now she realized he had done all of this, knowing she had no one to turn to. Her tears flowed as she tried to understand why he would do such a thing. Philip watched her cry but couldn't stay silent. He told her he had grown to love her. At first he had no feelings, but over time he had seen how hard-working and determined she was. He couldn't deny the connection he felt with her now. Then, lowering his voice, Philip revealed something even darker. His wife Felicia had been cheating on him with his best friend. He also told Beatrice that Felicia had lost her womb because of several abortions in the past. Philip claimed he could never stay with a woman like that. Beatrice was furious. Despite his words, all she could feel was anger and disgust. She felt trapped, used and disrespected. She threatened to get rid of the pregnancy. She didn't want to bring a child into this terrible situation. Philip panicked, pleading with her not to do anything drastic. He promised her they would find a way to make everything better, but Beatrice wasn't sure she could believe anything he said anymore. Unknown to them, Felicia overheard everything that Philip and Beatrice had discussed. Furious, she decided to take matters into her own hands. The next morning, Felicia secretly bought some strong pills and dissolved them into Beatrice's drink. Unaware of the danger, Beatrice drank it. Hours later, she felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. By the time she was rushed to the hospital, it was too late. She had suffered another miscarriage. This time, Beatrice was completely broken. When she was discharged, she packed her few belongings and returned to the streets. She couldn't bear staying under the same roof with Philip and Felicia any longer. Despite everything that had happened, Philip tried desperately to find her. He searched the streets day and night, panic rising as he realized she was gone. He blamed Felicia for everything, and in a fit of anger, he finally confronted her. That was when Philip revealed that he had known all along about her secret affair with his best friend. Felicia's face went pale. She tried to deny it, but the truth was already out. Philip was done. He chased Felicia out of the house, telling her to never come back. Now, left alone, he regretted all the choices he had made, especially with Beatrice. But there was nothing he could do to fix it. Meanwhile, Beatrice wandered the streets again, her heart heavy with pain and loss. One afternoon, as she walked absent-mindedly down the road, a car sped towards her. She was so lost in her thoughts that she didn't even notice. The car screeched to a halt, barely missing her by inches. The driver quickly stepped out, and to Beatrice's surprise, it was Daniel, her first boyfriend. She turned away, wanting nothing to do with him, but Daniel rushed after her. He begged her to stop and listen, apologizing over and over for abandoning her and their unborn baby years ago. He admitted that back then he had been foolish and immature, but now he had grown up. He confessed that he had been looking for her ever since, and that he had changed. When Daniel asked about their child, Beatrice felt her heart sink. She softly told him about the baby's miscarriage, and Daniel's face crumbled with sorrow. He blamed himself, saying that if he hadn't left her back then, their child might have lived. Not wanting to leave her again, Daniel insisted on taking Beatrice to his home. To her surprise, he had built a beautiful life for himself. Slowly, as days turned into weeks, they grew close again. Daniel showered her with kindness, love, and the care she had long forgotten. Before long, they rekindled their relationship, finding comfort in each other. Beatrice's parents, upon hearing what had happened, also sought her out. They apologized for the way they had treated her in the past, admitting that they had been wrong to push her away. Their apology touched Beatrice's heart, and she forgave them, letting go of the bitterness she had once carried. A year passed, and Beatrice found herself in a much better place. One evening, as she sat with Daniel, she opened up about everything that had happened with Philip and Felicia. Daniel was shocked by the story, and he promised Beatrice that they would see justice done. They went to the police, and Philip and Felicia were soon arrested for what they had done. A month later, Daniel and Beatrice stood hand in hand at the altar, surrounded by friends and family. After all the pain and suffering, Beatrice finally found peace. She had endured more than anyone should, but now she was ready to start a new chapter, one filled with love, hope, and happiness. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take away from this dramatic tale? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.